His tongue would flop out from the pressure. The sheriff would put it back in with... What?
With a cane.
This is awful. Hey everybody, I'm Alabama Boss, and this is Like a Boss. Giles Corey was an Englishman who settled America in 1640, specifically in a little town called Salem, Massachusetts. When Corey was 80 years old, he and his wife were swept up in the Salem Witch Trials, both of which were accused of witchcraft. One witness said she was tortured repeatedly by an apparition of Corey, who would come to her in the night and afflict her grievously, even though Corey was locked up in jail at the time. She accused him of being a wizard. The deal is, at this time, it was law that a person couldn't be tried for a crime that they refused to plead guilty or not guilty for. Corey refused to enter a plea, and there is an important reason for that. We'll get to that later. In order to keep people from skipping out on justice by not pleading, a torture called pressing would be used to force the person to enter a plea. Historically, this has only been used once in America on Giles Corey. What they do is tie the person down so they are laying on their back and their arms and legs are stretched out. Then they place a large board on their chest and begin piling on heavier and heavier stones. The idea is to get the person to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty before they suffocate to death from the weight. This could last for days, as was the case for Corey. Now, the reason a person may not want to enter a plea is because if they did, their assets would be forfeited to the government should they be found guilty. Corey was a relatively prosperous man with several children that depended on him and his estate. He saw how the witch trials were going, knew he would be found guilty based on someone's testimony alone, so entering a not guilty plea would not only end with his life being taken, but his property too. So he was pressed. The sheriff would routinely ask him to enter a plea, and all Corey would reply with was more weight. His tongue would flop out from the pressure. The sheriff would put it back in with a cane and sometimes stand on top of the pile of stones and ask for a plea. Corey would respond, more weight. Okay, look, if that were me getting pressed, let's talk about this.
Would you like to enter a play? Do you have any last words?
Just wait.
What's that?
No, wait.
More weight? More weight, he says!
I said no wait, you idiot.
Find the largest stone in the quarry!
Eventually, he succumbed to asphyxiation and died, his last words being a defiant more weight, securing his estate to be passed down to his children and likewise making his town face the horror of what they had been doing. Giles Corey most certainly handled his unjust execution like a boss. I'm Alabama Boss for Crush It TV. Y'all have a good one.